Hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about another transformation you can use with trigonometric functions called vertical translation. And what vertical translation does is it shifts the graph up or down by shifting the midline. It doesn't affect the amplitude of the graph. We already talked about how to affect that in the previous video. So it just moves the midline, and then you can adjust the amplitude using the other variable. So let's get started. We're going to go over to Desmos so you can see how it works. Alright, so here we can see we have the two sine functions from before, only this time the blue one has this added variable right here. Okay, now I want you to pay extra attention to the fact that these two are exactly overlapping. So sine of x right now is exactly overlapping a sine of x plus b, and that's because a and b are currently assigned these values right here. So right now a equals 1 and b equals 0. And that's causing this overlap to happen. So right now these are actually the same function. And as you can see, their tables are exactly the same. Now, in the previous video, we were able to slide a and mess with the amplitude. But notice that it did not change the midline of the graph, so it stayed with the midline of 0 for the x-axis. Now, if I adjust this b value here, okay, I want you to pay attention what happens when I adjust this b value and what happens to the values on this table compared to the table above. So if I change this b over to 1, let's see if I can get this. There we go. So you can look at what happens over here in the graph, but also look what happened on the table. So before, I plugged in 0 and I got 0. Now I'm plugging in 0 and I'm getting 1. And this makes sense because you're still getting the same value for sine of x, for this part here that I'm highlighting. This part is still equal to the same value. But right now, because b equals 1, I'm adding an extra 1 before it hits the output side of the table. So the same thing you can notice is happening for all of these values. So up here, pi over 6, originally I was getting 0.5. Now I'm getting pi over 6 to be 1.5. A whole 1 above, that's because I'm adding 1. Okay, and you can see each of these values is 1 higher than the one above, and that's because of this 1 here. Now, if I change this to a 2, okay, every single one of these values is now 2 higher. Okay, and that's causing the graph to move up. So all of these points are exactly 2 above the previous points. Then, if I move it to be negative, you're moving them down. So you can see this is just moving the graph up and down, and it's affecting the midline. It's not affecting the amplitude whatsoever. And that's all that I wanted to show you today. If you have any questions, please leave a comment, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. If you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing, that really helps out as well. And I'll see you tomorrow for another video.